Congratulations, you now own the world's best hydroponic system. Please view this DVD a few times before setting up your super closet system. It is also important to read the instructions that come with the individual components included with your system. Remove all the contents from their boxes and remove the framing from the pallet. Once all items are unpacked, reference your quality assurance checklist to verify that you have all the contents of your Buddha box. The next few steps will involve the setup of your framework that will hold your big Buddha box tubes. Tools you will need include a 9 16th inch socket wrench or open-ended wrench and a level. Step 1. Examine the pieces of the frame that come with your Buddha box frame kit. You will notice the long uprights with attached corner brackets and bolts that are installed on the tops and bottoms of each. You will then notice the horizontal support pole that is flat on one side and has a channel on the other. This proprietary strut is put together by sliding the head of each bolt into the channel and tightening the nut on the opposite side. This creates a compression force that will hold the frame together with a minimal amount of hardware. Make sure to only slide the hex head of the bolt until the edge of the horizontal is flush with the edge of the upright. Step 2. Start by placing the uprights labeled B and C on the ground with the corner brackets facing up. Install the first full-length horizontal brace to the bottom of the frame. You will be able to decipher what is the top of the frame and what is the bottom of the frame by noticing the foam stripping on the corner brackets. The side with the stripping will be towards the top position of the frame. Once this bar is in place, snug the bolts but do not fully tighten. Once you have formed this U-shaped section of the wall, flip it over so that the corner brackets are now resting on the floor. Step 3. Now locate one of the two full-length horizontal braces that have the L bracket attached to it. Install this bar at the top of the frame. Make sure to face the L brackets up towards the ceiling, not down towards the corner brackets. Again, snug the bolts but do not fully tighten. Step 4. Once you have this section of the wall assembled, you will now install 4 more of the full-length uprights onto the 4 remaining connection points on the 4 corners of the frame that's laying in front of you. These will be installed to where they will be sticking straight up in the air. These loose ends will eventually attach to the other side of the section of the wall that you are about to build. Make sure that these lengths are also on the side of the frame in which the corner brackets are not. Step 5. Lift the section of the wall you have just completed. You will notice that you now have a square section of the wall with 2 horizontal dangling off the bottom and 2 horizontals dangling off the top. These horizontals can be used to support the frame at this point if secured tight enough. If you don't feel confident in these being able to right the frame at this point, you may simply lean the section against the inside of your tent or wall until needed. Step 6. Now lay out the uprights labeled as A, D, and E. Follow a similar yet slightly different pattern to build this section of the wall. This time, the bottom will be the short horizontal and it will only accept poles D and E together. And instead of flipping the wall, you will install the other horizontal with the L brackets, with the wall as it sits, and with the L brackets facing down towards the floor. Step 7. Now stand the second section of the wall up and carry the ends of the 4 horizontals that are attached to the first wall. These 4 free ends of the horizontals will now connect to the 4 remaining bolts of the second section of the frame. You should now have a complete frame with 5 uprights and horizontals connecting the top all the way around and also connecting the bottom all the way around, except for the door of the frame, which should remain open. Step 8. It is now time to walk around the Buddha box and ensure the frame is square. Due to the points of connection being snug and not fully tightened, adjustments to alignment can be simply made by applying force in the direction that will cause the upright to become aligned at a 90-degree angle from the ground. Once all 4 corners are aligned, the frame will become square, and it is now time to go through and tighten each one of the bolts. It is important to bolt down very tightly each bolt, or the frame may have unwanted torsional movement. Step 9. You will notice that the L brackets that are on the door side of the frame are positioned in a way that the bolt channel is facing the side of the Buddha box. These brackets are pre-adjusted in the proper placement and should not be moved. Now notice that the brackets on the other side of the Buddha box have the same channel facing the ground. These brackets will be loosened to allow for the light tube to be installed and adjusted into place. Now locate the 2 support poles for the light tube. You will notice that one side has 1 bolt and the other side has 2 bolts. Remove the nuts from each of the bolts that are on the other side that has 2. These will be the bolts that connect to the L brackets on the 2 horizontals on the top of the frame. Attach these bars now and hand tighten the bolts. Step 10. Find the 2 pre-drilled holes that are on the side of your light tube. These will be the holes that the remaining bolts on the support poles insert into. Remove the attached nut. Slide each of the bolts until they are side by side and roughly in the middle of the track. Firmly grip your light tube and lift it up to the first pre-adjusted support pole and insert the bolt into the hole on the side. This 1 bolt in place will be enough for you to hold the tube with one hand as you swing the other support pole up to meet the light tube. Now reapply the nuts by reaching into the top of the light tube and hand tighten. Step 11. Once the tube is in place, it is now time to adjust the pole that was loosened to aid in installation of the tube. Measure the space between the 2 support poles at both ends to ensure that the spacing is equal to the distance they are apart, in the middle from where the light tube hangs. This spacing should be around 6 inches if installed properly. The light tube should now be hanging in the middle of the inside space of your Buddha box. If it is not, make any adjustments needed by either sliding the tube in its track on the support poles or adjusting the location of the support poles themselves until this is achieved. Step 12. Tighten all remaining bolts. Now locate the Buddha tubes. You will notice that there are 9 6-inch tubes and 3 4-inch tubes. Step 13. Locate the bag that has the 3/4-inch connector pieces in it. It is best to apply soapy water to the ends of the connecting pieces as well as the grommets before trying to connect them. This will act as a lubricant as the fit is very tight. Step 14. Follow the diagram in your instruction manual and arrange them accordingly. Each tube has a letter on the bottom and has a corresponding letter on the diagram. Follow the diagram in your instruction manual and arrange them accordingly. Verify that each of the connectors is even on both sides of the tubes. Additionally, Ensure that the grommets are seated correctly and not deformed or askew in any way. Once all the connectors have been installed and the Buddha tubes are in their places on the frame, place the reservoir in the framing on the opposite side of where the opening of the door is. Make sure to face the 3 drain ports on the back of the reservoir towards the back of the Buddha box and the 1 pump hole toward the front or by the 4-inch tube. Step 15. Locate the 3/4 inch drain tubes that are secured together with the green and red zip tie. There are 3 lengths that correspond to the 3 levels of the Buddha tubing in the green tie that will attach to the tubes labeled A. The 3 lengths in the red tie will attach to the tubes labeled D. These will attach to the 3/4 inch tube fittings found on the underside of all 6-inch Buddha tubes labeled A and D, connecting the other end to the fitting on each side of the reservoir. Make sure that the tubing makes a nice, clean run the whole way down with no kinks or abrupt bends. Step 16. Now attach the 1/2-inch feed lines to the tubes labeled C. Once the 3 lengths are attached to the tubes, feed the other end through the hole on the front side of the reservoir. Place the pump in the front third of the reservoir and attach the 1/2-inch hose to the fittings on the side of the pump. Step 17. Unwrap each air stone and place 1 in each tube at the far corner as shown in the video. Step 18. Now it is time to place all the Buddha tube lids on top of each tube, paying attention to placement of the 1/4 inch hole on each lid. Do not clip them into place yet, as you will still need to feed the air lines through and attach them to each air stone. Step 19. Place the Eco5 air pumps in opposing corners on the framing as shown in the diagram in your instructional manual. Now locate the 6 sight manifolds that came with your system. You will see that there are 3 different lengths of tubing, 2 of each on each manifold. These lengths also correspond with the 3 levels of the Buddha box. Feed the air hose through the 1/2-inch holes on top of each lid and connect to the air stones. You may now secure each of the lids to the Buddha tubes. Step 20. Locate the 6-inch ducting that is included with your system. This ducting will connect to your inline fan and your light tube so that it pulls air through the tube to keep it cool. Cut the 6-inch ducting to your desired length and attach to either end of the light tube with the 6-inch hose clamp. Now connect one end of that ducting to the inline fan so that it is pulling air through the tube rather than pushing it. Step 21. Now connect the ballast to the top of the framing. Make sure all cords are connected between light tube and ballast, and power strip before attempting to turn on. Step 22. Fill your reservoir with a nutrient-rich water solution to within a few inches of the top straight fitting where your drains attach. Plug your water pump into your included timer and set for 15 minutes on every 1 to 3 hours depending on the stage of growth. To ensure that your system is flowing correctly, turn water pump on, wait for tubes to fill with water, and check to see that each tube is draining back into the reservoir via the fill and drain towers. Now plug in and turn on your air pump. The air pump will run 24 hours a day. It will not only oxygenate the water as it flows into the tubes, but it will also supply fresh oxygen when the tubes are not flooded, ensuring your roots will always have a perfect growing zone. Congratulations, you are now ready to begin your grow. Good luck and happy growing.